Welcome back to the Uranium Fever channel. In today's Fallout 76 video we are covering animal taming, with a comprehensive guide on how to use camp slots to change your pets into unique variants, and even have a different animal at each camp. We'll also be covering some new information, with a guide on how to actually get the incredibly rare Chameleon Deathclaw at your camp. Let's get started. Today's video is my second taming guide, with the first covering the basics of animal taming, as well as my suggested taming route. I would recommend watching this video first if you're completely new to taming in 76. To kick things off today though, let's revisit how camp slots have changed animal taming. Previously, taming was much simpler but more limited. You had one camp with the ability to have one tamed animal or creature. Now, you can actually have one tamed animal per camp slot, and even create unique variants of your pets. I'm going to demonstrate now how to have a different animal at each of your camps. Start off by getting ready to go on a taming run. I advise using private servers where possible, as the random spawn locations tend to yield more tameable animals. These share a chance to spawn with all the other random events, so be prepared to server hop. Once you've found the first animal, you want to send it to a camp of your choice. You can wait for it to arrive in world or go to the menu and load back in. I found loading out doesn't actually affect it arriving. When it's arrived, keep this camp activated. Now go on a second taming run until you find another animal you wish to tame. Once you've found one, switch your camp to a different one and send it there. Now you have two different pets. Repeat this process if you wish to have more. Next, let's go through creating unique variants. This information has been updated since my first video, and that's actually thanks to the data miner Duchess Flame. Duchess co-wrote a fantastic animal taming web article with fellow data miner GARUST and Cat from the Atomic Adoption Agency. I've left their links and a link for the article in the description, which I highly recommend checking out. Almost every tameable animal in Fallout 76 has secret regional biomes. The full list of currently known variants are in the video description, but we are using a Deathclaw in this example. The Deathclaw can become an alpha at a camp in the Ash Heap, and a glowing variant is attainable at the camps in the Mire, Cranberry Bog and Savage Divide. To access these biomes and create the unique variants, you will need at least 2 camp slots. The first camp you send the Deathclaw to will trigger no change, and it will remain the same. What you actually need to do though, is copy it to a second location. You do this by simply switching to a second camp that's in one of the regions I just listed. Once you've changed it to the second camp slot, load out and load back in. Your pet has now been copied to the second camp. Originally I thought that your pet would actually travel to the second camp, but thanks to Duchess I now know it's essentially a completely new entity. If this copy was to die, the original would still actually be alive at the first camp. So feasibly we could actually copy this original Deathclaw to all of our camp slots. Now it's time to discuss something I really didn't think was possible. Duchess discovered that unique variants aren't just region based, but there are some which actually depend on the player's level too. With this in mind, my original biome list needs to be updated, with the star of today's video, the once elusive Chameleon Deathclaw. To get the Chameleon Deathclaw though, your character needs to be between levels 71 and 81. Through testing, it shares the same biome as the glowing Deathclaw, but your character needs to be in that level range. The moment your character reaches level 82, it will stop spawning as a chameleon and will revert to a glowing variant instead. Use the same method as I showed previously, by taming a standard Deathclaw and then copying it to a second camp in the regions listed. Staying within that level range does make keeping one of these long-term unrealistic if you're playing regularly on a character. Personally, I tend to play on one character and use the others only for building camps, which worked well here as I knew I had to build a camp to house it. I've had this chameleon now for a good few weeks and have built a terrarium for it to live in. These things are rarely seen, but having had it at my camp, I feel like I've learnt quite a lot about it. So let's dive into what the chameleon is and how it ranks up compared to the other variants. Firstly, we need to talk about the colours. It has 3 base colour schemes: red, blue and green. When you load into a world, it will start as one of these 3. A nice detail as well is it actually glows. with subtle changes even when it's currently one of the 3 starting colours. Pairing it with the asteroids in the terrarium at night really created some nice visuals for the video. It also has a 4th colour, a bone white texture that I found will activate once it enters combat. In fact, its combat colours are probably the most interesting feature. As you can see in these clips, it will actually switch between all 4 colours at different points. Playing on this lower level character, I actually ran into a wild chameleon in this clip. A commonly seen random event of 4 super mutants fighting a Deathclaw didn't have the normal glowing variant I'm used to. Letting it wail on me for a bit should show off these colour changes in more detail. I think the 2 are linked though, with this random event being the first time I've seen a chameleon instead. The level range for taming is presumably shared by this too. Here's a comparison of the base damage of all 9 variations in Fallout 76. It actually ranks 3rd out of all of them, behind the mythic and glowing variations. Like any tameable animal in Fallout 76, the chameleon can be vulnerable to enemy spawns. My camp location for the terrarium is actually pretty bad for them, but it does manage to hold up pretty well. All things considered, this probably isn't a long-term companion for a playthrough that you wish to progress. I do think it's up there with the best options for a pet though. Simply for the colour variations alone, it really stands out. Loading a camp with one of these as a pet into a custom world could definitely be an option for anyone wishing to save it but continue levelling up on the character in adventure mode. To close today's video, I have some exciting news. While the chameleon is currently the only known level specific tame, Duchess has discovered that there are actually many other variations that we can't access via regions alone, but are also tied to level ranges. This information is going to need to be data mined and tested though before we can do a video on it. So hopefully I should have another video coming out in the future about all the other options we can potentially get. That is it for today though. I hope you enjoyed today's video. What did you make of seeing the Chameleon Deathclaw up close? Will you be looking to have one at your camp? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I personally would love to see the animal taming system fleshed out a bit in future. Being able to customise the variations freely would make things much easier. If you enjoyed this particular video, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. We post camp builds and tutorials weekly, as well as video guides like this. With that said, I am off. Thank you for watching and we will see you in the next one.